What is this? Day number 3? Yeah, day number 3 of me returning to the plant-based life, or as it's also known, being a vegan. I was a vegan for a 5.5 year span. Then I stopped for the past year and a half. I've been doing eggs, I've been doing whey protein powder, been eating meat, but not eating pork, not eating shellfish. I'm not eating much red meat at all, as I've been weight training. However, I decided that despite being happy with how my tone is coming along, the fat's not going away. I'm not seeing the fat itself going away, despite me working out for an hour, 6 days a week, then running 2 miles on top of that. So I have to do something. If the thing's not working, you do something else. So I decided 3 days ago, I am going to return to the plant-based life, not eating anything from an animal. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, just beans, grains, vegetables, seeds, fruit. Remember, I lived that way for 5.5 years, and that span only ended a year and a half ago. So it's funny, when my 30s are over in less than a year, I will have spent the majority of my 30s as a vegan or plant-based diet. So here's my newest epiphany on this for my plan, because I am really just loving this. I have always preferred the vegan lifestyle. It's just that I was gaining so much fat despite running and mountain biking, and it wasn't coming off. So that's why I decided to start working out and eating animal products again. But the fat won't go away. The one thing in my life that really slimmed me down was when I was a vegan, and it lasted for like a year and a half. The fat came off, and I loved it. I was my ideal size, because I'm not trying to be big as I'm weight training. I'm not trying to have muscles the size of my head. I want to be small and lean and strong. That's what I want to be. Those are my personal goals, which are probably not the goals of most men in the gym. That's all right. So here's where I got to thinking. What if we looked at this like the principle, the biblical model? Work 6 days, take off the 7th. You know, people who weight train typically often do this anyway. They will eat very strictly 6 days, and then they'll have their cheat day. And so in the same concept, because I'm not really big into cheat days. I don't really just do that. I've never really cared about that. But what if I use that principle for being a vegan? So, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I think I will be the first and only person on the planet doing this. This is what I'm envisioning. So for the next year, strictly be a vegan. I mean, I don't really plan to mess around with that too much. That's my plan. Because I know when I become a vegan, my body has to get rewired, and the fat goes away. And yes, some will say the protein will go away, that the muscle mass will go away. But I'm willing to sacrifice that in order to make the fat go away as I'm lifting weights, because I never weight trained as a vegan. So I want to be one of the few people who's experimenting through this in real time. And yes, vegan bodybuilders exist. Mark Wahlberg is the most popular, famous one that I would say that comes to mind. He has changed to plant-based as of March this year, 2020, right as COVID happened. That's when he did that. So here's what I'm thinking. A year of plant-based, and then like a month or two of going back to how I was. Eating 4 eggs a day, eating meat. I don't know about the whey protein because of the sugars and the fake sweeteners like sucralose, but ultimately going back to the concept of going heavy on animal product protein. So a year of plant-based, then a year of vegan plant-based, a month or two of eating animal products again, not being vegan, but being very mindful. And when I eat meat and eggs and dairy, I'm also not eating bread, and I'm not eating sugar. See, now that I'm vegan again, I do eat bread. I sort of have to eat bread, like Ezekiel bread and Dave's bread and all that good stuff, because I sort of have to, because you have to have something you can eat, right? So that's the way it is when I'm a vegan. So my concept, my plan is this: a year of plant-based, a month or two back on the eating eggs and meat and stuff, and then a year again of vegan plant-based, and then a month or two, and living in that way. Because we all know, if you're weight training, you have to constantly keep your body guessing. Your body finds ways to adapt to what you're doing, and then it starts storing the fat again. So this is my plan. I think that this will get my body in a way that I'm shedding all this fat on me to get the fat off. And then I'll probably, in theory, be that way for like a year or two before my body kind of recalibrates and starts storing the fat again. Just then, when that starts to happen, okay, you want more protein? I'll give you plenty of protein, and I'll be eating eggs and meat and all this again. Do that for a month or two, my body gets used to it, and then that'll allow me to go back into the vegan shock where it sheds all the fat. So I don't know that anyone's ever done this experiment before as far as going on and off it like this. And I think largely the reason no one has is because what person is open-minded enough to become vegan or plant-based and then to switch back to eating meat again? This guy, I've already done it once. And now I'm going back to vegan. So it comes back to tribalism. I talk about that a lot on my channel here. Tribalism. You know, you're either this camp or this, and you judge and look down on the side that disagrees with you. Democrats, Republicans, you know, sports teams, masks or no masks for COVID. People do this all the time. And especially when it comes to plant-based diet versus a regular American diet or whatever, eating protein, eating meat, eating animal protein is what I guess I should say. But I'm not caught up in that. I've been on both sides before. And I am on both sides. So again, might I be the first person in history to do this and to do it as my regular lifestyle? It's one thing to be plant-based your whole life. It's another to eat meat your whole life. But it's not normal, and it's not something we've ever seen in the world. 12 months of plant-based vegan, 1 to 2 months of back to healthy conscious eating, but eating animal products. A year of plant-based, and so on. That pattern where I'm constantly making my body, keeping it guessing, which is the same concept as cheat day, which is somewhat similar to the concept of intermittent fasting, which I am doing. I don't eat until 11 o'clock each day. And also borrowing from the biblical concept of 6 days on, 1 day off. But when we look at that at a calendar year perspective, if we pretend if we ultimately look at a year as 6 days, then a 7th day in essence would be 1.7 months. That's where I'm coming up with that. So here we are, day number 3. That's where I'm at. And granted, I will say, I will gladly be plant-based vegan my entire life. I'll gladly do that if the fat doesn't come back once I shed all the fat, once I cut all the fat from being a vegan, which I am predicting that will happen. I'm thinking the next month or two, my body will start really cutting that fat out of my body. But I think it's going to return at a certain point to which I start eating animal products again. But if that doesn't happen and I would just stay slim because simply from running 2 miles a day and weight training an hour a day, if that's enough to keep the fat off the rest of my life, I will gladly be a vegan the rest of my life. But I know that I have to shock the system. There's a lot of question marks. I think it's adventurous. I think it's exciting. I really do. Because like I said, last time I was a vegan for 5.5 years, I started gaining the fat back. But I wasn't weight training. I was only running and mountain biking. And I wasn't doing intermittent fasting. And I wasn't as strict as I am now about vegan junk food as well. So it may be enough to just do the weight training and the running and the vegan. And I may get to my ideal weight. I'll be lean and muscular, but not massive, which is all I want. I want my chest to stick up further than my stomach and when I wear a t-shirt. If I can succeed from being plant-based and weight training and running, then count me a vegan the rest of my life. I'm happy because I actually prefer the food I eat when I'm a vegan, because then I can have bread and I don't have to be liberal, or I can be liberal on carbohydrates, which I can't do when I'm eating animal products. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out. But for me, I have to have a sense of control over something like this. I can control what I can, and what I cannot control, I let go. But I can totally control this, and maybe I can sort of come up with my own thing that works for me personally. I'm not here to say this would work for most people or that anybody else should do it. But I am able to experiment on myself. So let's see what happens. Let's see if being a vegan, weight training, and running is enough to cut the fat that I'm trying to get rid of. But I predict that being a vegan alone will do that for about a year or so, and then I need to shock the system. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your perspectives on reality belong right here.